It was a cold November evening in a quiet neighborhood just outside Denver, Colorado. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, and the streets were wrapped in a thin fog that seemed to swallow every bit of sound. Jason Miller, a single dad of one, was driving home after picking up his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, from her dance class. They were talking about what movie to watch that night when Jason noticed something strange on the side of the road. Flashing hazard lights and a car door hanging open. At first, he thought someone might be changing a tire, but as he slowed down and pulled over, his heart sank. Lying near the car was a woman in a police uniform. Barely moving, her hand was pressed against her abdomen, blood staining her blue shirt. Jason's instincts kicked in. He told Lily to stay in the car, lock the doors, and call 911. Then he ran toward the fallen officer. Before we begin this incredible story, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to our channel, Echoes of Dad. We share powerful, true life stories about love, kindness, and the moments that remind us what it really means to be human. Don't forget to like this video if it touches your heart, and leave a comment about what kindness means to you. Your support helps us keep sharing stories that matter. The officer's name was Sarah Thompson, and she was barely conscious when Jason reached her. Her breathing was shallow, and her voice was weak. She whispered, "I," tried to stop him. He took off. Jason didn't know what she meant, but there was no time to think. He had to act. He grabbed a clean towel from his car, pressing it gently against the wound. "Hang on, okay. Help is coming," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Even though his hands were shaking, he could see the red and blue lights flashing in the distance. The ambulance was close, but time felt frozen. Jason stayed by her side, talking to her to keep her awake. "You're going to be fine. I'm Jason. I've got you." He kept repeating her name like a promise, trying to anchor her to life with his voice. When the paramedics arrived, they had to pull him back gently. Sarah was rushed into the ambulance, and Jason stood there on the roadside, his hands covered in blood, his heart pounding with fear for a woman he had just met. He didn't know it then, but that moment would change both of their lives forever. That night, after putting Lily to bed, Jason couldn't sleep. He kept replaying the scene in his head, the flashing lights, the officer's trembling hand, the sound of her trying to breathe. He found himself praying, something he hadn't done in years, asking for her to survive. A few days later, Jason received a call. It was from the Denver Police Department. Officer Sarah Thompson had survived surgery, and she wanted to meet the man who saved her life. Jason hesitated. He wasn't looking for attention or thanks, but something in the officer's message, her wanting to thank him personally, made him agree. When he entered the hospital room, Sarah was sitting up, pale but smiling. "You're Jason?" she asked, her voice still soft but steadier. "Yeah," he replied, a little shyly. "I am just glad you're okay." She looked at him for a long moment, her eyes filling with tears. "They told me I would have died if you hadn't stopped. You didn't even know me, but you didn't hesitate." Jason shrugged, trying to brush it off. "I just did what anyone would do." But Sarah shook her head. "Not everyone would have stopped. You did." From that moment, a quiet friendship began. Jason and Lily visited Sarah a few times as she recovered. Sarah had lost her husband 2 years earlier in a traffic accident, and she'd been raising her teenage son Ethan alone. When she met Jason and Lily, something clicked between their two families, two single parents, two kids who understood what it meant to miss someone. As Sarah healed, she and Jason started meeting up outside the hospital, first for coffee, then for walks in the park. They'd talk about everything from parenting struggles to the loneliness of trying to stay strong for your child when you're breaking inside. Jason told her how he'd lost his wife to cancer when Lily was only 4, how every night he promised his daughter that things would get better, even when he wasn't sure they would. Sarah listened quietly, then told him how she'd been chasing a stolen car that night, how the suspect had pulled out a gun during the stop. She had called for backup, but was hit before help arrived. Her voice trembled when she said, "I thought I'd never see my son again. And then you showed up." Those words stayed with Jason for a long time. Months passed. Sarah went back to light duty at the police station, and Jason continued his work as a mechanic. Life slowly returned to normal, or at least a new version of it. They saw each other often, their kids becoming friends. Lily adored Sarah, and Ethan often helped Jason around the garage. After school one evening, while having dinner together, Sarah said something that would change everything. "You know, Jason, when I tell people about that night, they always say you were my hero, but I think you did more than save my life. You reminded me that there's still good out there. Real kindness. Jason smiled. A little embarrassed. Kindness doesn't cost anything, he said. I guess we just forget how powerful it can be. Sarah nodded. It's easy to forget, but that night, you didn't. A few weeks later, something incredible happened. The Denver Police Department organized a community event. To honor local heroes, Jason was invited, but had no idea what was planned when he arrived with Lily. He was surprised to see TV cameras, uniformed officers, and a big crowd. Sarah walked onto the stage and began to speak. 8 months ago, she said, her voice steady but full of emotion. I was lying on the side of the road, bleeding out. I thought I was going to die, but one man, a stranger, stopped. He didn't know who I was. He didn't think about danger or fear. He just helped. She turned toward Jason, tears glistening in her eyes. That man is Jason Miller, and because of his kindness, I'm here today with my son. The entire crowd stood and applauded. Jason felt his face flush, and Lily squeezed his hand, beaming with pride. The police chief walked up and presented Jason with a medal of civilian bravery, something rarely given to non-officers. But what mattered most to Jason wasn't the medal, it was the look on Sarah's face, the gratitude, the connection that had grown between their two families after the ceremony. As they stood outside watching the sunset, Sarah said softly, You changed my life, Jason, but maybe what's even more amazing is that your kindness changed the way my entire department thinks. They're talking more about compassion now, not just duty. Jason smiled. Maybe that's how it starts. One act at a time. She nodded. Exactly, one act at a time. Over the next few years, Sarah and Jason continued to support each other through life's ups and downs. Their friendship deepened into something more, built not on dramatic romance, but on quiet strength, trust, and gratitude. They often volunteered together at local community drives, helping families in need, telling their story to remind people that kindness isn't about being a hero. It's about showing up when someone needs you. Lily and Ethan grew up side by side, inspired by what their parents had taught them, that no matter how dark the world feels, kindness can light the way. Years later, Jason would tell the story to new volunteers at a charity event. I didn't save her because I'm brave. He'd say I stopped because I saw someone who needed help and I couldn't drive past. That's all kindness is, noticing and choosing to care. In the end, that's the message of this story. Kindness doesn't always make headlines. It doesn't always come with medals or applause, but it has the power to heal, to connect, and to transform lives in ways we can't imagine. Because sometimes the smallest act, pulling over to help, offering a hand, or simply showing up, can change the course of someone's life forever. So if you take one thing from Jason and Sarah's story, let it be this: never underestimate the power of kindness. It costs nothing, but it means everything. Thanks for watching, friends. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to Echoes of Dad, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that kindness still exists. And in the comments below, tell us, when was the last time someone's kindness changed your day? Because when we share kindness, even through stories, we keep the echoes of goodness alive.